Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this brief webinar on the benefits of modularization in the context of competency-based education. My name is Jana Dara Ernst, and I am a early childhood faculty member at Heartland Community College. I'm thrilled today to have Dr. Rick Pierce, who is the Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs at Heartland Community College, and Ann Brennan, who is the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs at Oakton Community College, here with me today. We're going to begin our discussion today with the benefits of modularization in the broader academic context. So Rick and Ann, if you could begin with how modularization is an important component of competency-based education and what you see as the role of competency-based education as playing and supporting learners.
Well, I'll start off by saying that I think the modularization is critically important to competency-based, and I think that it comes from two different directions. One is that the modules can align with competencies that in turn align with application opportunities. So by aligning, and what I mean by application opportunities is use in the workforce. So by aligning the modules with specific things you need to know and do to be successful in the workforce, it gives that guarantee to the students that they're actually prepared, and to employers that our graduates are prepared. And then from the other direction, because we can align competencies out in the real world with our modules, it makes it much easier to provide for prior learning credit. That somebody coming to us from the real world application, because it's aligned in two different directions. We know, hey, you've been out working in the field, you most likely have these skills, and whether we need to verify that through a test or something depends on what it is. But in some cases, it's simply because you already hold some type of industry recognized certification, and we know that that certification aligns with our modules. We can give you credit then for the modules that it aligns with.
Yes, I was going to add to that, as I worked with the ECE project, that very point became really clear and a new way for us to look at the concept of transfer. Since PLA in general does not transfer, the concept of how to get it to be treated the same way everywhere you take it to really speaks to competency that is aligned with industry-based credentials that are recognized and we teach to in our colleges. So the concept of modularizing, which I didn't find in the dictionary, but it was hard to find that as a verb, but the concept of getting just one credit within a course becomes possible with modularization. And then you can think that it would then move from one program to the next. So even if it doesn't transfer the exact same way that a transfer course does, competence transfers, it's awarded the same credit, and the student can count on it. So we kept, as we went through the project, comparing competence-based credit to the AP tests and the IB tests in Illinois, where it's standardized. And it is based on, in that case, a national standard. And in the case of the ECE Level 2 credentials, it is based on Gateway's credentials, which is where students get jobs in Illinois. And I think, Rick, you've used a lot of examples in healthcare that talks about, I think, really the power of competence-based and modularization.
Yeah, I think that we're using terms right now, and it seems to be the hot topic, but actually it's not something that we haven't been doing for years, but it's been perhaps in other areas of our operations, and definitely in the career tech education field, and most specifically evident in health sciences. Things have been done this way. There are competencies that are required within a scope of practice for, say, a nursing student. And what level of nurse they are, what licensure level they're going to have is based on those competencies. And so we've always had sort of what they call skills checkoffs in those programs where you have to come in and demonstrate that you can do something that is required in your scope of practice. And so you demonstrate that you're competent at that. They check it off and you move on. What has changed perhaps for the better in recent times is that in addition to a focus on competencies within the licensure scope of practice, there's been the recognition that there is a career path in those programs. And again, I can use nursing as an example, that you could start out as a certified nurse assistant or an aide, and then you can move on to a licensed practical nurse, and then on to an RN and so forth. And so if we design our curriculum in such a way that the curriculum follows that pattern, it allows the student an opportunity to demonstrate they have competencies for a certain level. And perhaps if they choose to, they could stop out or maybe just get employment while they're still in school, but they don't have to wait till the very end to be qualified to go out and practice. And that's really critical. And I think that's something that is definitely important to this. The newer version of this idea is that the curriculums are laddered or sequenced in a way that mirrors opportunities in the workforce.
And opportunities to continue your education as you can, to enter it at various times in your life and pick it up again and not have lost because you didn't go to school for a couple of years. Because if you can bank these credentials module by module, right, then it's not wasted. And the concept of transfer is helped by competency-based education if we're transparent about what competence we're fulfilling here. And I think the ECE early childcare project really has done this deep work across the state. You know, this is evident in the Gateways credentials as we go forward. And if we articulate our courses between our community colleges with the competencies evident, not just for the people who are reviewing it, but when we publish our syllabi after the coursework is articulated between all the colleges that teach this curriculum, then it would be very simple for the workforce to recognize it because we keep talking to them about the competencies that the students need. So it does connect the industry credentials and our coursework in ways that we've seen other states. Tennessee was one of the states that we've been partnering with on the concept of this, and we're bringing it in the Illinois way. And I think probably going to do it really well, using modules and exposing the concept of competencies to registrars and to deans in a sense on transcripts. Well, they won't be on transcripts, but it will be on the syllabi. So it will start to connect a framework which has been worked on by the faculty. And what role does competency-based education play in supporting learners? I think the answer to that question has to do with really meeting them where they are and not wasting their time, but instead giving them, the teaching that they're ready for.
I agree. I agree because I think that quite often what I hear from students, if they're complaining at all about a course, it's that they're not getting timely feedback that helps them clearly know where do I stand at this moment. But if things are based on the competencies and the modules, they know they've demonstrated a competency and they move on and they know exactly where they are. And that I think gives them a lot of confidence in their ability to be successful. And if they find themselves struggling, but they're able to achieve some level of success where perhaps they've earned a credential of some sort, again, they might step back and reassess, is this the right time for me to continue? Or should I move on and get some practical experience in the field and then perhaps come back and try the curriculum again? Because they are two different settings, right? And some people can really thrive out there hands-on, but struggle with, the theory or whatever behind it all. So I think that really helps to support them.
We do know in community colleges, 4 years as well, I guess, but the more credit you earn, the more likely you are to earn more credit. So if we can honor their learning with credit, we're giving them a nudge in a way And it needs to be modularized in order for us to be fair about those who know a lot compared to those who still need to learn some stuff.
And I think too, as we talk about prior learning credit, to be able to validate someone's lived experience is extremely valuable. And for someone who may have thought, you know, I'm not cut out for college. No one in my family has ever gone to college. But if we could turn and say to that person, look, you already have earned 9 credit hours in our program simply by having the certificate you've earned or the experience that you've had, then that tells them, oh, I could be successful in college. Maybe I could be the first one in my family. You know, we could change lives with that.
And it isn't just our opinion. Kale did a really significant study about how getting credit through PLA boosts students' chance for success significantly across every category of student. So I buy into it because of data. This is a way to get adults re-engaged with college.
Thank you. Those are excellent points. And one of the just things I want to highlight from your discussion is the incredible respect for and responsiveness to what learners are able to demonstrate in terms of knowledge and skills. And the next slide, we're going to ask about suggestions you have for other institutions as they modularize their curriculum.
I'll start off by saying that I think the modules have to be based on discrete sets of knowledge and skills that relate to application in the workplace. And in addition, they have to be sequenced, as I was saying earlier, in such a way that the curriculum flows from beginning to end along the same lines as the career path. And if possible, these modules or groupings of modules should relate to industry recognized credentials so that those can be earned as the student is moving through the curriculum. I think those kind of 3 points are really critical.
And I would add, think about the fact that, number one, articulate your courses with all the other community colleges in the state of Illinois. And with the four-year colleges where the credit will go. And the reason that I say that is once we have articulated our curriculum, then the modularization of it will be even easier. We will know, we don't want it to just sit in our own institution. We want it to be mobile. We want the learning to be recognized beyond our own institution and to move to the next. So those would be, please keep those things in mind. I think in our state, this particular example means that it moves from the CTE category, which has meaning to us all, into the transfer category, which has a different meaning for us all. So we have to make that transition. I think modularization is, I think, very helpful to that, and especially because it's related to competence and industry standard. And if we, triangulate that way, then we will, I think, all receive and send credit in the same way to each other, and the students will really benefit from it not being confusing, not being different in every institution, but being standardized, much as we all can do for them.
Well, Anne, I think to that point, there was a time in this industry where we considered applied associate's degrees as terminal degrees, and that time is long past. We all recognize we cannot create curriculum that dead ends for somebody after 2 years.
Excellent point.
It has to be a way to move forward.
I like that.
Well, thank you each so much for your time today. Any closing thoughts?
I just would say, if you're considering this, don't stand on the sidelines. Get in there and take a swing, because it's really, really the best option for our students.
Yes, I agree. I'm jumping in.
Well, thank you.